Hey there, Essentials fam! Welcome back to another episode where we decode the big ideas shaping our world. I'm your host, Carver Benson, and as always, I've got Carly Jensen with me. Hey, Carly!
Hey, Carver, and hi, everyone. Today we're talking about something huge, the grip big tech has on democracy, privacy, and even how our societies work.
Whoa, that's a big claim, Carly. Let's dive right in. Can you break it down for us?
Absolutely. Companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, and Apple aren't just tech giants anymore. They've become these massive powerhouses that can challenge, even undermine, democratic systems. We're talking privacy violations, monopoly behavior, and even governments becoming dependent on them.
Okay, that's heavy. Give us an example. How does this play out in real life?
Let's talk about privacy. Take the GDPR. That's the EU's top-notch data protection law. On paper, it's designed to protect our data. But big tech? They're experts at finding loopholes. They jump between legal jurisdictions and keep collecting data on us. That's a direct hit to privacy, one of the key pillars of democracy.
So, it's not just breaking the rules, they're bending the system to serve themselves. That's next level sneaky.
Exactly. And the problem doesn't stop there. Governments are now hooked on big tech services. Think Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure for critical infrastructure. This dependency creates what I call a technological stranglehold. The more reliant governments become, the harder it is for them to regulate these companies.
Hold on, even governments are caught in big tech's web? That's wild.
Totally. It's like being locked into a system you can't easily escape from. Governments lose their power to push back because they're stuck relying on the very companies they're trying to regulate.
So what do we do? Is there a way out of this mess?
There are solutions, but they're not simple. First, we need a constitutional overhaul to reflect the realities of the digital age. Old laws can't handle big tech's influence. The European Union is making progress with unified frameworks to curb corporate overreach. That's a good start.
Can you give examples of what the EU is doing?
The EU isn't just sitting back while big tech from the US, think Apple, Google, and Meta, gains more and more power. They're taking action on several fronts to keep these giants in check and create a fairer digital world for everyone. First up, the EU has introduced two groundbreaking laws, the Digital Markets Act, DMA, and the Digital Services Act, DSA. These are designed to tackle everything from unfair monopolies to the spread of illegal content. Basically, the DMA says to big tech, you can't use your power to crush smaller competitors. Meanwhile, the DSA makes platforms responsible for cleaning up harmful content on their sites. These laws are no joke. The EU has already charged Apple with breaking the DMA rules, showing they're serious about enforcement. Second, the EU has been hitting big tech where it hurts, right in the wallet. They've launched major antitrust investigations and handed out massive fines to companies like Google and Meta. This isn't just about punishing bad behavior, it's about sending a message. Europe won't tolerate monopolistic practices that harm competition and consumers. And finally, the EU has set up a dedicated digital regulatory body to monitor these tech companies. This team's entire job is to make sure the giants play by the new rules. It's like having referees who ensure the game is fair for everyone, whether you're a small startup or just an everyday internet user. These efforts show that the EU is leading the charge in holding big tech accountable, proving that even the biggest companies in the world aren't above the law. By standing up for privacy, fair competition, and safer online spaces, the EU is setting an example for the rest of the world.
Sounds great, but won't this spark a power struggle between governments and tech companies? Who wins that fight?
Here's the thing. Big tech's greatest strength is also their biggest vulnerability: centralization. A handful of companies control social media and online infrastructure. This centralization also means that governments can shut them down easily. Look at how the US banned TikTok. One click and 170 million users go dark. This is a clear signal to these tech companies.
Wait, it's really that simple?
Technically, yes. But big tech has armies of lawyers and lobbyists. They'll fight back with everything, claiming it's about freedom of speech, information access, and so on. Policymakers need the courage to stand firm. If they do, governments ultimately have the upper hand.
So we're looking at courtroom battles. But isn't there another important front? Tech billionaires using their platforms for political influence? What's going on there?
Right. Some billionaires cozy up to populist parties, spreading misinformation and stirring distrust against governments. Look at Elon Musk. In Germany and the UK, he's been meddling with political narratives, aligning himself with populist leaders. It's dangerous because it weakens public trust. Elon Musk is trying to do in Europe what succeeded in the US: use the populist parties for the business interests of the big tech companies.
Do these populist parties realize they're being used?
Not really. They're pawns in a bigger game. And when these billionaires are done with them, they'll drop them in a heartbeat. Musk did it to Nigel Farage. And even MAGA supporters in the US are starting to push back on him. It's a volatile alliance. But mind you, it is beneficiary for these European populist parties as well. Do not forget that Musk is providing them a big megaphone to tell their story. His social media platforms, a very toxic mix.
All right, let's bring this back to what we can do. Any specific actions for individuals and policymakers?
For individuals, it's all about digital literacy. Learn how your data is used and make smarter choices. Use privacy-focused services where you can. And individuals have another powerful tool, their wallet. Just don't buy or use products from these billionaires anymore. And if you are really passionate about this, well, just don't drive a Tesla and do not use the X platform anymore. That seriously hurts him. For policymakers, invest in public digital infrastructure. Imagine European alternatives to Google or Amazon Web Services. It's ambitious, but it would reduce dependency and boost competition.
Big goals, but necessary. And what about the global picture? How does this issue play out beyond Europe?
Great question. Globally, it's a mixed bag. International trade agreements often favor corporate interests, making it harder for countries to regulate big tech. And let's not forget the US. Their lax regulation of tech giants fuels the problem worldwide.
So the US is part of the problem, and the EU is trying to fight back. Where does that leave the average person watching this?
It leaves us with a call to action, whether it's advocating for better laws, demanding accountability, or just being more mindful of the data we share. We all have a role to play. Change only happens when citizens, governments, and institutions work together.
Powerful stuff, Carly. Before we go, what's the one takeaway you want everyone to remember?
Convenience comes at a cost. Big tech thrives on our data and dependency, but democracy and privacy are worth protecting. The fight won't be easy, but it's a fight we can win.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for the breakdown, Carly. And thank you for tuning in to Essentials. If you found this insightful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video.
And let us know in the comments, what's your biggest concern about big tech? We'd love to hear from you.
Stay curious, stay critical, and stay essential. See you next time.